My question is something to the effect of, there's a lot of talk about anti-racist work in our time. Does an Islamic perspective on healing individuals and society from the disease of racism, does it differ from certain secular approaches, critical race theory? Does it overlap? I don't know if you have any thoughts on this.
You have a lot of thoughts on that, and I probably will flesh them out more during the class, but I'll say this, Sayyidi, that as Muslims, we should strive to connect everything that we do to Islam, iman, and ihsan, meaning that we have aqidah, iman, that we have the proper creed and understanding on what is proper belief. Then we also have that which regulates our worship and our transaction, which are fiqh and rulings. And then we also have ihsan, or the sciences of purification of the soul and of the heart. So we have these three aspects. And when we are approaching the issue of activism, anti-racism work in particular, this has to be factored in any philosophy, any methodology that does not factor in all of these three things is going to be wanting or deficient somehow. It may be a good tool as far as looking at certain outward things or outward manifestations. But if it's purely secular, then it will not address spiritual roots, nor won't address spiritual remedies. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is narrated by Imam Tabarani rahimahullah ta'ala and others. There's a hadith that starts off, likulli shay'in haqiqa. For every truth, there is a deeper reality. For everything, every outward thing, there's a deeper reality. Imam Ahmad al-Rafa'i, rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi, he said, likulli haqqin haqiqa. And Abu Hassan al-Shadhali, Ibn Ta'ala said something similar. Likulli haqqin haqiqa, that for every truth, there's a deeper truth. So we aren't just a people of looking at things physically, but we also have to understand and believe in the metaphysical realities behind physical manifestations. So just keep that in mind, that when we read things about organizing methodologies, like for instance, Sal Alinsky, or if we're reading something like things of critical race theory, which has been influenced by Marxism and critical theory, that, everything in it is not bad, and it should not be totally dismissed. I don't believe in not seeking to understand it. But when we're talking about the roots and the starting place, the epistemology, and then we're talking about the end work beyond social political remedies, but talking about the spiritual remedies, those things will be insufficient. There'll be deficits in them, and so we have to be careful that we have our own framework, and then we look at other things that people have derived or contrived, and we filter those through our spiritual tradition. Of course, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said the Quran is a proof, is hujjah, for you or against you. And hujjah in Arabic is stronger than dalil. Dalil means an evidence, but it's an evidence that can be debated. Hujjah is incontrovertible, right? So the Quran is the starting point. It is an incontrovertible proof for us or against us. And we have to be very careful that just because something is in style or the fad or something seems woke that's being pushed in certain circles, that cannot or should not be taken as our incontrovertible truth, especially within it. It even calls itself a theory. So a theory is not even a law, right? It's a theory, but it's not hujjah. It's not hujjah for us, and we shouldn't take it as such.